33-17 to the Trojans, who didn't even have O.J. Simpson at their disposal. Here's Jake Dunn's reaction.
Welcome, Purdue fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report. And that's our new Purdue theme song. I was just playing around, and it was amazing, and we're going to start doing this all the time. Because if you didn't love that theme song, then you don't love the Central Indiana Sports Report. It was amazing. And here is, as AI just told you, Jake Dunn with his reaction to Purdue's loss to a O.J. Simpson-less USC team. Man, that was fun.
Here's Jake Dunn's reaction.
Welcome, Boilermaker fans, to the Purdue Report with Jake Dunn and our recap and reaction to Saturday's 33-17 home loss to USC. And Jake, I want to just say, I think they're back to being competitive with average Big Ten teams, and that's a big step.
It's a huge step, although it was, I guess now 4 straight Big Ten opener losses. The last win was in 2021 against Illinois. This was really kind of the first time that Purdue's looked like a competent team, really, against like a quality opponent in a few years. So definitely a lot to be optimistic about for this program.
And when you watch the game, if you weren't paying attention to the score and you weren't paying attention to the stats, all you're doing is watching the game. USC is the better team, but not by that much. And it was really a couple of huge plays. One early in the game, interception in the end zone, and then a sack, fumble, return for a touchdown that really accounts for the entire difference in the game. 2 plays.
I think Barry Odom even said it in the post game press conference that they Purdue left 14 plus points out there on the field, with all the turnover.
I'm not sure they would have won either way, but they certainly were going to make it interesting until that sack and return. They just couldn't block for Brown all day. Had a really tough time.
Yeah.
That defensive line and the blitz package.
When you're turning the ball over 3 times and not really able to generate a turnover on the defensive side, force USC to turn the ball over, it's going to be hard to win games when you're turning the ball over 3 times. I think we've all seen the highlight, the 360-pound Jamal Jarrett's 70-yard return for a touchdown. That was kind of the backbreaker.
Yeah, and unfortunately, all the receivers had gone deep, and they were 50 yards away from the play, and no way, that even as slow as he was, there's no way they were even catching him. No chance.
Yeah. But we talked about the defense. In the first quarter alone, USC had 5 plays of 20-plus yards. We talked about it in the pregame preview that limiting the explosive plays were going to be a key to the game. And obviously that wasn't really accomplished here. So overall, USC had 7 runs for 10 or more yards and then 7 passes for 15 plus yards. So we're talking about turnovers, still 0 takeaways in 2025. Purdue only had 5 in all of 2024, but especially against Ball State or Southern Illinois, you'd kind of hope to at least get your first takeaway of the year, but still waiting for that first one for this Boilermaker defense.
Early on in the game, the defense looked really good. And then the 70-yard pass to Jacoby Lane was just a backbreaker. It looked like you had them stopped and they were going to punt, and then all of a sudden they're on the goal line. And it just changed a lot of momentum up to that point. Through 2 drives, it looked like Purdue might be right there.
Obviously, we'll never know, but I'd be curious to see, if we didn't have a weather delay, if that would have changed anything.
Forget about the weather delay.
The 3-hour weather delay. I think fans were pretty amped and ready to go, but when you have a 3-hour weather delay, not everybody's going to return, back to the game. And if they're not local, they flew in from somewhere. They can't really go anywhere. So their USC fans aren't really going to leave. So Purdue fans, I think still showed up for the most part after the rain delay, but there are definitely some that left. It would have been would have been interesting to see what it was like without the weather delay. But I think USC was the better team. I think the better team won.
Yeah,
It was good to see that Purdue at least hung in there and for most of the game, still had a decent shot to win. So if this game would have been last year under the coaching staff, I don't know if it's a close game at halftime.
I don't think it's a close game ever. And yeah, but I do want to say I don't think this is a good USC team. I don't. It's not a bad one. They're going to beat bad teams. They're going to lose to good teams, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's the kind of USC team this is. You hear USC team and you get all scared and weak-kneed and think O.J. Simpson and Marcus Allen and Reggie Bush and all that, but they're not quite that.
yeah.
So still more tests ahead, including a big one next week. We'll spend a lot of time on that, but let's talk about it for just a minute. Notre Dame, Illinois, the next 2 weeks. Purdue has passed the 3 tests so far as we're concerned, as far as the benchmarks that we're looking for. I think you check all 3 of them. The next 2 weeks are going to be awfully interesting.
I'd be
These
curious
are
to see.
elite level teams.
Yeah,
USC probably isn't.
yeah, yeah. I think Barry Odom said this in the post game press conference, but it'd be interesting to see how they respond from this. If they're going to let this loss define them, and which I don't think they will. I don't think they'll let it define them. I think they're going to respond well. Um, I think compared to last year after the Notre Dame loss at home, the blowout at home, it's really a massacre at home. But
Yeah.
after that, it's they didn't really respond well. They went to Oregon State and kind of laid another egg there. So be interesting to see how this team responds. And Notre Dame coming off 2 heartbreaking losses back to back weeks, so I'm sure they're going to be amped up and ready to go. Barry Odom will have the Boilers ready to go.
All right, Jake, let's hand out some plaudits because there were some really good performances in this game. I think we need to start with Susie's favorite, Nitro Tuggle, an Indiana legend who's come home after realizing, like you will one day, Jake, leaving Indiana is always a mistake. At his best game of the season with 69 yards and a touchdown, I thought really effective.
I think Nitro Tuggle, Michael Jackson, the third, and E.J. Horton, I thought they played really well. I think this was the most balanced and most productive from Purdue's wide receiver core so far this year. And I think, or at least my hope is that they're going to get better as the season goes on. So it'll be really interesting to see how the year progresses, especially as we start to face these tougher teams, to see if they can keep that up. But yeah, I thought the receivers, but especially Nitro, I thought that they played really well.
I didn't mention the other 2 receivers because my next plaudit was going to be to Barry Odom and to offensive coordinator Josh Henson and to Ryan Brown for an excellent offensive game plan that included spreading the ball around, because clearly he has 4 receivers that he trusts in Horton, Jackson, Tuggle, and Branch.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you throw in a pretty nice rushing attack with Maccabee, who they figured out a way to shut him down late in the game, but early on looked pretty effective. This offense could be pretty good.
If you take away the 3 red zone turnovers, this offense looked pretty good. Like I said, it was the first time that they've really seemed confident and could really move the ball against a quality opponent. So although USC's defense isn't great, they're still at the very least an average team. I think they're probably a little above average, but it was a good fairly good team, and I really liked what I saw from the offense outside of the 3 turnovers.
And we're going to be talking about the defense when we talk to the things that need to improve. I do want to mention that Charles Correa and Miles Slusher were all over the field. Unfortunately, when it came to stopping the run, it was usually too far down the field, but still those 2 guys played really, really well.
I thought they played really well. Charles Correa, the whole linebackers, the whole linebacker room, I think was pretty active on Saturday. So talk about the defense. They allowed 282 passing yards. We knew Jaden Mayava for USC was going to be good, putting up 300 yards. can't be giving that up against a team like USC. And we talked about the no takeaways. The defense didn't even force a punt. So USC, they either scored on every drive, or I think they had a missed field goal, and then at the end of the half they just they got sacked to end the half. But yeah, defense still left a lot to be desired there.
Yeah, too many big plays. And you talked about the ones in the passing game. The ones in the running game from Jordan and Sanders were probably more concerning than the ones in the passing game. Jake, you can never say a weather delay, whether it affects one team or the other, or how it's just impossible to say. And we're not going to speculate on any of that. But it was a weird one. It was a long, long delay.
And if you remember 2 years ago, the Virginia Tech game, I actually went with one of my friends because he had a brother that played on Purdue's team. So him and I went up to Virginia Tech, and there was like a 6-hour weather delay. And that was just brutal. Luckily, Purdue pulled that one out. But yeah, the weather delays are never fun for anybody. You're getting all amped up for the game just to find out that you have to wait for an unknown amount of time. And so, yeah, it's Barry Odom said that the coaching staff, did a good job, so that there's not, really much of a fault there for that. They had the team ready to go. But yeah, the weather delays are never fun for anybody.
We talked about the offensive line and what it needed to do to allow Purdue to be competitive in this game, and the end result was not good. And I think a lot of it was that USC's defensive line was very, very athletic. Might just be a matchup issue. 1.9 yards per carry and a lot of pressure on Ryan Brown all day.
He never really had time to really settle in, so he was always kind of throwing in retreat mode, or throwing on the run. So the offensive line gave up 5 sacks, 10 tackles for losses. So obviously can't be having numbers like that against an athletic USC team. Like you said, USCs are always going to have athletes, and the run game that was pretty muted. The only 60 total rushing yards and only 45 for Mockabee. So they not a lot of production there. So yeah, the offensive line I kind of thought was going to be a sort of a bright spot, and maybe it will against some teams maybe not as athletic as USC, but through the first 3 games, still kind of looking for some improvement there from the O-line.
And like we said, not going to get any easier the next couple of weeks. At Notre Dame, Illinois at home, then at Minnesota, which will probably also be a pretty tough trip, and then a couple of winnable games. So you and I will be talking about it all the time, starting with our Purdue Report midweek, where we'll talk some football and basketball on the Purdue Report, and then we will preview the Notre Dame game, and we will have our Notre Dame guys, Eric and Ryan Robinson, with us to talk about that, Jake. And then we will react to the Notre Dame game, hopefully positively, following that on Saturday. So, Jake, thanks so much for your time. Always look forward to talking to you about some Purdue sports.
Appreciate it. And Boiler Up, I think we've got, again, a competent team, which is refreshing, from the last 2 years. Confident team. And I think this game was really reminiscent of Jeff Brom's first game against Louisville. The back in 2017, the offense looked good. Obviously there were some big holes that needed plugged, but it was kind of refreshing after the stretch of Daryl Hazel. So I think this is really kind of reminded me of that. And yeah, I think Purdue's in a good place with Barry Odom, and yeah, just hope he can keep the momentum up.
That was Jake Dunn's reaction. Purdue's first loss of the season. That's right. The first loss of the season. Please join us Wednesday to discuss more Boilermaker sports, and Friday for our Purdue Notre Dame preview. That was Jake Dunn's reaction to Purdue's first loss of the season. That's right. The first loss of the season. Please join us Wednesday to discuss more Boilermaker sports, and Friday for our Purdue Notre Dame preview.
Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love you, Susie. That was fun.
It's a brave new world for this podcast.
I'm never going to not be doing this.